when you first took on a mentee, was it like
Mhm.
natural for you? Did it click, or did you have to learn about yourself as you were trying to learn about them?
I think I think that's a great question. So I think when it comes to like my first mentee, in an official capacity, it was interesting because this is where my structured personality kind of came in, and then I realized ideally mentorship should be a little bit more fluid and not so structured. And it didn't really work out too much. And I noticed that there was a massive disconnect between me and the mentees that I was interacting with. And the reason being is because I was trying to create this like by the book method that made the most sense. But then I forgot to take into account we as individuals, we're extremely dynamic. We're not static. We change. We interact differently. We like to joke and we like to laugh. Like we don't no one wants to just be talked to, but they want to be talked with, you know? And I think once I kind of understood that factor is when I started to take into account the personality factor. And I realized there's some people that I might interact with where honestly they're not looking for a conversation. They just want you to come in, you guys develop an execution plan, and that's it. And we call it a day. Thank you, and cool, and that's it. There's other people who are like, no, dude, like before I actually start taking your advice, in a way, I want to somewhat have a friend, an amiable relationship. Because through that, now I can actually kind of trust you because now I feel like you truly do have my self interest at heart. And so for those individuals, I'd focus on building and fostering a genuine, amiable relationship. I will ask them about their family. I'll ask them about their interests, their hobbies. If I find opportunities that can align with their interests that I think would be great for them, not necessarily great for me because it's not about me, it's about them. You know, recommending that to them. If I know someone that is looking for, say, maybe a person to go play badminton with, I might say, hey, listen, I remember you said you're interested in badminton. I have a friend who's looking for a badminton player to play, you know, every once in a while. Do you think you'd be interested in connecting? And they connect. And kind of just showing that interest that you actually really were being attentive to when they were telling you your interest goes a long way. You know, because sometimes people just don't do that. You know, like we say that we kind of care about our friends and what they're talking to us about or whatever, but like, do we? Do we really put our mouth where do we really put our mouth where our mouth is? Like when I was doing networking at one point, I used to sometimes go to like art events. That's not because I have an interest in art. Like, no offense to artists or whatever, but I don't really care too much about art. I have an interest in literature art, but not like actual, you know, physical art, like Picasso, Mona Lisa, like that kind of stuff. Like that's not something I'm fond of, but I have friends and peers that are very much so interested in that. And so the question now becomes like, how can I be an asset to them? Right? Because I'm in a tax world, which is pretty small, you know, and in comparison to things like art or things that, you know, are more on the discretionary side that people really do have an interest in, you know, it's sometimes harder to kind of break that transition. There's not necessarily always a structured way to enter into that world. And so by me going in, interacting, getting business cards, and kind of showing face, I was able to now build that gap for some of these peers that didn't necessarily have the motivation or the courage to go in and interact with some of these professionals at that point in time. And that was able to help them build their network essentially. So sometimes I didn't just network for myself, but for the people around me as well.
Nice.